In the lead up to last year's election, in a desperate ploy to prevent the ousting of Arooj Shah, the at the time leader of Oldham Council, Greater Manchester Police embarked on an unlawful campaign attempting to stop me from campaigning against the then mobster affiliated leader of Oldham Council. They threatened me with arrest should I campaign against Arooj Shah, should I campaign against the Labour Party. Face to face, Greater Manchester Police threatened me with arrest. Her threats made no difference, and I went and campaigned, and we, the people of our town, ousted Arooj Shah from the Labour Party stronghold of Chadderton South. We replaced her with a Conservative. This year, Greater Manchester Police aren't even hiding their intentions. They are openly campaigning for the Labour Party. They are openly supporting Amanda Chadderton. And these actions of Chief Superintendent Chris Bowen will be marked in history as another step that this town took towards outright tyranny.
Do not fear them. Do not fear any of them. On the 20th of November 2003, James Ignatius O'Rourke McMahon was elected councillor for the Failsworth East Ward of Oldham. Deeply ambitious, he ruthlessly rose to power, and by 2011 he was already leader of the council. In 2015, exploiting a Labour Party loophole, he became MP for Oldham West and Royton. If only the people of the town knew then what they now know. Do not fear them. Do not fear any of them.
A very good evening. It is Sunday, the 26th of February 2023. And for those of you who are new to this, my name is Raj Emi. I put out these weekly Sunday night transmissions. I call them transmissions. I don't know why I call them transmissions, but I've always called them transmissions. Weekly Sunday night broadcasts where I provide an update on all things Oldham, really, and a campaign to defeat and take out multiple Labour Party politicians in this town, including now Amanda Chadderton. When we first started these transmissions, the leader of Oldham Council was the soon to be touted to be future MP Sean Fielding. We took him out in Failsworth. We ridiculed him. We embarrassed him. We shamed him. We exposed him. And the consequences were an independent candidate, Mark Wilkinson from the Failsworth Independents, beat him by just over 100 votes. Once he was defeated, he took Sean Fielding, mobilised all of his friends in the mainstream media. Hi guys, still here. No matter what you've tried to do to me, still here. Claiming this was a far-right. I was leading a far-right campaign, and all of this was conspiracy stories. We now know that the cover-up of the grooming and gang rape of our town's children is real. Our children in this town were groomed and gang raped, and the police covered it up and the council covered it up. And the now MP, James Ignatius O'Rourke McMahon, covered it up. Sean Fielding was replaced by Arooj Shah, the mobster-affiliated councillor. She can't sue me for saying that because that is the truth. Her brother is a convicted money launderer. She hangs off the arm of Dale Cregan's getaway driver, who is a convicted heroin dealer. And when she last won an election some time ago, she celebrated with a man who had been imprisoned for kidnap and torture. Arud Shah is now the chair, the national lead of some senior Labour Party committee, Constitutional Committee. There is no doubt in this town that the Labour Party is affiliated with mobsters. Arud Shah we ousted in Chadderton South, and the consequence of that was Amanda Chadderton became leader of Oldham Council, the last of James Ignatius O'Rourke McMahon's 3 protégés, the last one he could hide behind or attempt to hide behind. Amanda Chadderton, since becoming leader, had to face the Andy Burnham assurance review into the cover-up of the grooming and gang rape of children. Remember, this was a far-right conspiracy, outright lies, and even the limited terms of reference and the dodgy inquiry, and it was a dodgy inquiry investigation by Newsom and Ridgway, which included the most senior council officers hiding evidence, exposed in the report. Isn't that right, Gerard Jones? Preventing children from testifying. She was forced to apologise, as was, for the first time, what many of you would have seen, Chief Superintendent Chris Bowen with his very, very pronounced Welsh accent. I won't mock his Welsh accent. I'm sure there are plenty of people in Wales who are decent. He just isn't one of them. Exposed for his police force's role in the cover-up of the gang rape of children, he repeatedly apologised, and the last time many of you saw him, he had the audacity to smirk at you all in a council meeting and claim that the firebombing of Arud Shah's car is an ongoing investigation. Fast forward to this week, an Operation Avro launched, and there is now no doubt whatsoever, so I'm just moving my cup of tea out of the way, no doubt whatsoever that the police and the council are working hand in glove. And the reason they're working hand in glove goes back to the beginning of this saga, where they launched Operation Hexagon together. Operation Hexagon is a joint Greater Manchester Police and Oldham Council unlawful investigation into harvesting your data, the information, the private details of members of the public who speak out against them. And they go and see what dirt they can find on you, and God knows what else. One day there will be a reckoning for Operation Hexagon. One day we will have an MP in Parliament who speaks out on behalf of the people of our town against the travesty, the injustices done to us and our people. Please bear with me 1 second. I'm just trying to get my iPad running. For some reason it isn't playing. Here we go. If you find value in these transmissions, please, at the very least, like and share my work. If you're yet to subscribe to the newsletter, the website, the newsletter, it's £3 a month. I think, yeah. I am losing subscribers. More and more people are increasingly deciding that because I've gone free with all of my content available for free. What can I say? And if you can't afford a subscription, or if you can't commit monthly in that way, please do consider buying me a coffee. The links are on at the top of this transmission. The work I do is only funded by the kind sponsorship of 8 or 9 people and the monthly subscriptions from everyone else. That's how I keep going. That's how this work happens. And that's why you have these Sunday night transmissions that have become a feature in many of your lives. So if you don't support me, I run out of money. It's as simple as that. I'm not funded by the council. I'm not funded by the Labour Party. I'm not funded by a trade union. I'm funded by you. And I like to think I provide plenty of value for money. Let us start this week. It's this horrific. Horrific is the right word, I think. This young woman, this child, not a young woman, this child was walking home from college. And I've only sharing with you what I think I've been able to piece together from asking sources in the community. I do know her father, actually. Alicia was walking home. This car overtook 3-4 cars, piled into another car, killed her, ended the life of a child. The police have made 2 arrests, Omar Chowdhury of Royton and Hamidou Rahman of Oldham. Both have been charged with causing death by dangerous driving. Now let's get one thing clear. Both of these, if convicted, they won't spend that long in prison. But what I wanted to talk about more than just this is how in a town such as ours, there is an issue. There is an issue, not just with young men, but particularly young men in the Asian community, my community, and overpowered cars and treating the streets of our town as if it's a racetrack. I'm genuinely surprised that more young people have not been killed on our streets. And if it was in any other way, in any other context, this would be seen as a safeguarding risk. And schools and colleges would be providing mandatory training, awareness raising to all of the young men, particularly those from my community. Because, yes, this girl's died. It is a travesty. And I don't know these 2 young men. But what I do know, and I'm certain of, is that no way did they intentionally do this. No way were they aware of what was going to happen. They did not even consider it, had they? I'm not absolving them of responsibility at all, by the way. But these young men were not aware of the consequences, and I think all young men in our town should be made aware of the consequences. And mandatory workshops should come into our schools, our colleges, and our youth centres, in our community settings. And where she was killed, I've walked there, I've crossed the road there. I've walked along that pavement, many of you have. It could have happened to any one of us, or it could have happened to any one of our loved ones. And just condolences is not enough. Just wanting these 2 lads locked up is not enough. Moment like this, we need strong leadership in this town, and that leadership should be calling out the underlying issue within our communities that lead to young men driving around in cars that they shouldn't be driving at speeds that no one should be driving at. So where is it? Why the silence? Is it because of who these young men's families are and what their connections are? And yes, they are connected. One of them most definitely is, because I know him. Is it because the victim was Bangladeshi and from the local Koldus community? For those of you who don't know, she's from the minority Hindu element of my community. Do Hindu lives matter less? Where are the councillors? Where is the uproar? Where are our leaders? Why are they not speaking out against what we all can so clearly see with our eyes of what's going on in this town and the way in which cars are being driven? My condolences to Alicia's family and friends. I know the grief has come from all sections of our town and all communities. I'm hoping there's some form of memorial service that I and all of you can go to, because no one deserves this. And this, if any good can come from this, it has to be our leaders from all political persuasions stepping forward and saying no more. No more will we sit silently whilst young men from our communities drive like hooligans on the streets and roads of our town. Because if we do not put a stop to this, this will not be the last time this happens. A very good evening to so many of you. I think it's that, isn't it, Lynn? I think they are infallible. I find it bizarre that in this country you can drive a car, which is a lethal weapon, before you can legally drink. I just find that contradiction. And there needs to be reform of the law. There clearly needs to be reform of the law. And I have no idea, Sally. Forget the affording of it. I think the Ferraris and all the rest of it that are parked outside terrace houses, I think we all know how those sorts of cars are afforded. It's the insurance. I don't get it. I really don't understand how they can get themselves insured. This week started, well, nothing really compares to what we've just gone through, but this week started somewhere else for me. I did put a transmission out on Tuesday, but this week started with a public meeting at the Coliseum. A public meeting called by an organisation called Equity. Now, I put a transmission out, so I won't go too much into that. But this is it. Hundreds turn out to Save Oldham Coliseum public meeting. Hands off Oldham. And what Equity were doing, and they had Maxine Peake there. Maxine Peake I admire very much. Last time I saw Maxine Peake, I was at a party where I had the pleasure of being introduced to her. So, and I understand her position because she's an actress. And she's also a working class actress and a socialist. So I understand her position and why she presented at this event. But what was clearly taking place here, separate to what Maxine said, by the way, is Equity were trying to whip up and divide our community and portray it as though money was being taken away from the Coliseum and they were going to save the Coliseum and hands off Oldham. And that rich people, they were going to get the money whilst we were not. Of course, once you delved into what Equity were really about and what they really wanted was to use us, you, me and the people of our town as cannon fodder, and I use the word cannon fodder because they made reference to tanks. They wanted to use us as cannon fodder to make sure that they got their money, their staff got their money, their members got their money. And despite the Arts Council finding severe faults with the governance of the organisation, rather than anything to do with the building, they wanted to use you. So they did this hands-off Oldham, 400 people. Most of them from Oldham, some not. They empty-chaired the Arts Council. Didn't empty-chair Oldham Council, empty-chaired the Arts Council. That Sam Al-Hamdani sat one from the end. And in the lead up, to the meeting taking place, Oldham Council thought they played a blinder and came out with a statement of their own, Amanda Chadderton, about a new theatre as a replacement for the Coliseum. They then submitted a petition to the Arts Council and sent a whole host of letters out, emails out to many of you. The email I was given a copy of, the lady does not even know how Equity got her email. So there's some data protection issues there. And these are the questions. They want you to go to the cabinet meeting to put pressure on Amanda Chadderton and her team. And these are the questions Equity submitted, but by the way, Equity won't be sending a representative to the meeting. They confirmed that in their email. So all this time they've been trying to claim that they want to save the theatre. Manipulating you, misleading you in my opinion. Because the building is not what they want to save. Because this is the 6 questions they've submitted. Will you guarantee that the new theatre will be a producing house? What that means is not just a venue. And wait until you see what I have in store for you. Who is going to run that theatre? Well, if it's just a venue, I would imagine the centre manager who takes bookings. What can we do to ensure that the Oldham Coliseum Company survives until the new building opens? There you have it in black and white, acknowledgement, support, whatever you want to call it. That they, Equity, differentiate between the Oldham Coliseum Company and the Oldham Coliseum Theatre that we love, that is over 135 years old. What provision will the council make to maintain a producing theatre company in Oldham operating from April the 1st, 2023, and who will run that producing company if the Coliseum as a company goes into administration? So the Coliseum is about to go into administration. As in the theatre company. Yep. How does the council plan for the new theatre to be a viable producing house in the absence of a fly system theatrical rigging system, which is necessary for a full pantomime production and for many live theatre productions? Well, maybe, if you weren't so stupid, you'd know that the council's plan for a new theatre actually isn't a theatre at all. But we'll get to that as well. So, it's not fit for purpose, is what they're saying. Can the council guarantee the new theatre will be commercially viable for pantomimes with a 300-seat approximate capacity theatre? I find that a bizarre question, really, an outrageous question from a company that has relied on for over decades multi-million-pound handouts and not been self-sufficient at all. I find that bizarre. I'm not on the council side, I just find that bizarre as a question. We couldn't do it, but how can you guarantee you're going to do it? With a a smaller capacity, I think is what they meant. The pantomime's at about 500 people in every time, plus this capacity is that of a school hall. Bear that term in mind, school hall. Has the council produced an assessment of the permanent jobs the new theatre will create, balanced against the job losses from the current theatre, taking into account the lack of need for specialist fire theatre rigging staff? So they're going back to their staff. You can see they're going back to their staff. Has the council produced an assessment of how it will ensure it can hire the skilled staff needed for operating a new theatre, and it will work to stop the loss of, and will it? It should be, will it work to stop the loss of skilled staff from Oldham who will be made redundant from the Coliseum on March the 31st, 2023? You can see more about their staff. It's about them, isn't it? These questions are about them in the main. Is there absolutely no way the council can support the Coliseum to remain open until after the next panto and then support the company to work peripatetically? I think that means seasonally. So what would need for that to happen is that the council would have to allocate, give or take, £1 million of your money, either directly or indirectly, a year, to a company, an organisation that's really an offshoot of the council. That's an independent body that had historically funded the millions. So they're not coming from this with an agenda. The Arts Council aren't coming to this with an agenda. But can they continue to fund them, even though the Arts Council have said there's issues with governance, dangerous issues with governance, dangerous issues with leadership, and dangerous issues with financial management? For crying out loud, the Coliseum don't even have an up-to-date annual report on their webpage. Hello to David. Hello to Karen. Don't worry about being late. David, please do pass on my regards to Dean. I know it was his ex-wife's wake a couple of days ago. So if he's not here, do pass on my regards. And I look forward, can't even believe I'm saying this, I look forward to our next Morrison's coffee. Do you think anyone would notice if I brought my own hip flask in with me? So those are the questions, and what these people want you to do, so we're clear. What Equity want you to do is they want you to rock up to the council meeting, the cabinet meeting. They only last about 20 minutes usually, where there's a public questions at the beginning. They want you to rock up to the cabinet meeting and maybe stop by the Coliseum on the way to pick up some of their placards and put pressure on Amanda Chadderton and her leadership team to take your money and fund them, even though they've been deemed essentially not fit for purpose by an independent body. And if there was any ambiguity, that ambiguity now no longer exists, because you can see that from the 9 questions, they are not at all interested in preserving the historic Coliseum, 135-year building that means so much to so many of us. And indeed, Sue, that's if they let you in. But you know what? You shouldn't go. You shouldn't go and do these idiots. They're using you. Can you not see what Equity are doing? They are using you. They were manipulating you. And they care nothing for our town. And where it might appear that they care for us, it's only because our wants and needs overlap theirs. They're not motivated by us. They're not motivated by us. And if they were, they would be fighting to keep the existing historic building going. Let me get to that. Which one do you prefer? That, I think. Investing in a new theatre for Oldham. The portfolio holder is Councillor Amanda Chadderton, leader of Oldham Council and portfolio holder for regeneration and housing. The officer contact is Emma Barton. Remember Emma Barton from Wigan, who came with that dodgy history from Wigan. Katrina Stevens and Shelley Kipling. I'm not sure where Shelley Kipling came from, actually, so I don't know where this assistant chief executive has appeared from, or who she is. So my apologies, I will have to go and do some research on that. Let me go through this. Oldham Council is committed to the delivery of a new theatre in Oldham Town Centre. The planned new theatre building was successful. Their words, not mine. The planned new theatre building was successful in gaining Town's deal funding from central government in June 2021. So that's nearly a year ago. And the work has progressed significantly with detailed plans well advanced. It is proposed that the new theatre be progressed through a further consultation ahead of submitting a planning application and funding arrangements confirmed, including the use of Town deal. Alongside this, Oldham has been offered access to £1.845 million of Arts Council funding to provide performance arts and culture across the borough over the next 3 years. In order to access this funding, Oldham Council has a requirement to indicate its acceptance of this funding and to recommit to the development of a new theatre for the borough. They are claiming, so this is revenue money, by the way, this is for projects. They are saying that the £1.845 million being offered by the Arts Council is subject to the council committing or recommitting to the development of a new theatre in Oldham. That has never been said anywhere by the Arts Council in any document I've seen. So what they want to recommend is that they want the council to formally approve Oldham Council's intention to accept the £1.845 million Arts Council England funding to provide cultural activity for the borough for the years. Recommit to the development of a new theatre for Oldham. That's not true. And if that's true, that doesn't mean that the Arts Council cannot and would not say you've got to move out of that historic building. Cannot and would not. And approve funding arrangements and progression of a new theatre on Union Street to planning stage. Again, the Arts Council would not say, wouldn't link it to the new theatre on Union Street. I've not seen any documents anywhere from the Arts Council commit saying that, demanding that. This is where it gets interesting, or more interesting. Investing in a new theatre for Oldham. Oldham Coliseum began as a circus on Henshaw Street dating back to 1885, known then as the Coliseum. Built in 1887, the current theatre building based on Fairbottom Street off Yorkshire Street in Oldham Town Centre has been used as a music hall and a cinema before reopening in 1938 as the Oldham Repertory Theatre. The Oldham Rep lasted until 1978 when it was reconstituted as the Oldham Coliseum Theatre. The current Fairbottom Street building, the adjacent office building and the car park are leased by the Coliseum from the council on a rent-free arrangement. So there you have it, the council own it all. The council own it all. In 2012, Oldham Council invested £2 million into the Fairbottom Street Theatre, upgrading audience areas, replacing seating, improving heating and updating ventilation. However, even with this level of investment, both the Coliseum board and management team, that means council proxies, and Oldham Council agreed that the current building could not meet the long-term needs of the theatre, its performers, staff and its audiences deserved better. Problems with accessibility, a lack of quality backstage and front of house facilities, and a growing list of maintenance issues common to old buildings were evident, including asbestos and lack of provision for disabled performers and visitors. A full building survey undertaken at the time in 2012 gave the building a 10-year lifespan. The scale of the issues found and Oldham Coliseum's requirements for better facilities meant that renovating, refurbishing and repurposing or reinvesting in the building was not possible. It was not possible because they had an existing theatre company operating out of the space. That's the sentence they're not saying there. In addition, the size and topography of the site meant that rebuilding on the current site would be restrictive and very expensive as a result. What does restrictive and very expensive mean? Quantify it. More expensive than what you've already blown? In 2012, both Oldham Coliseum and Oldham Council, there's no such thing as both Oldham Coliseum and Oldham Council, they are one and the same. Since this time, the council has continued to undertake and pay for structural maintenance required to the building, circa £20,000 per year for the last 10 years. So they reckon they've spent £200,000 on the building over the last 10 years to keep it structurally fit for purpose. As the internal maintenance, repairs and buildings H&S compliance falls to the Coliseum management team for upkeep. Just nonsense, gobbledygook. With the ongoing issues with the building itself, well, what ongoing issues? Because if it's asbestos, they wouldn't have had children in there 2 months ago, would they? With the ongoing issues with the building itself, work has continued between Oldham Council, Arts Council, England and Oldham Coliseum Board and management team to find and create a new home for the Coliseum and a new space for performance, for arts and performance in the town. Over the last 10 years, the partnership, so that's the three of them, has developed plans for 2 different theatre projects, but challenges of design and layout plus the need for a sustainable business model for the Coliseum as the future operator of the site have meant these projects were not deliverable. However, the development of a new theatre has remained a priority given the acknowledged issues with the current building, and this agreed approach with the partnership was central to the development of Oldham's cultural strategy, which recognised how important arts and performance were to the town and the wider area. In 2019-2020, Oldham Council, the Arts Council and Oldham Coliseum, the partnership, jointly reviewed options once again for a new theatre, existing site and others in the town centre, and bringing back to life the heritage buildings on Union Street was the preferred location site. This site is at the heart of Oldham's growing cultural quarter. This is where they start to lie to you, by the way, but we'll get to that. Linked to the new cultural strategy for Oldham in August 2020, the ongoing partnership between the Coliseum, Arts Council England and Oldham Council saw the development of a new performance venue The Oldham Making Space for Life Performance Feasibility Report. We're good at reports in Oldham. And Making Space Vision. We're very good at visions as well. Some more nonsense, yeah. The plan agreed by all parties in late 2022. Following some issues with the walls at the back of the stage, a further full building survey was commissioned. This survey, completed in January 23, found that the building needed numerous urgent health and safety compliance works. The Coliseum has been given this report and they have been asked to urgently action the works to ensure compliance while the doors are open till the end of March. This survey confirms the conclusion of the 2012 survey that the building is beyond expected lifespan. Beyond its expected lifespan. The plan, agreed by all parties and acknowledging the lifespan of the current building, was always that Oldham Coliseum would leave. Now, your plan was that Oldham Coliseum would leave the Fairbottom Street site. It wasn't the plan of the people of the town. The proposals in this report are for a new £24.5 million theatre. So £25 million theatre, it's going to go over budget. So 30 million, minimum, yeah, 30 million. And they've gone into contact with other theatres of a similar benchmark as Contact Theatre, Stockport Garrick, Bolton Octagon, Hope Mill Theatre, Watermill Theatre. It's all nonsense. They're not comparable. Contact isn't comparable, the Garrick isn't comparable, and Bolton Octagon isn't comparable. And I know all three of those. So claiming 300 is enough for Oldham is nonsense. In summer 2021, Oldham was successful in gaining a £24.4 million Towns deal. The new theatre plans were shared as part of the big town centre consultation event. And they want approval, yeah. Ready? Published Tuesday the 21st of February 2023. New theatre for Oldham takes a step forward. Yeah, that's your drawings. Next to the library, local interest centre, knock through to the old museum. Oldham gets 24.4 million government cash for 4 huge town centre projects. So bear in mind this is for 4 projects, not just a theatre. The projects include the Northern Routes Eco Park, the relocation of Tommyfield Market, the repurposing of parts of Spindles into office space, and a new live performance space in listed buildings on Union Street. Avro Shah was the leader at the time. Ready? The live performance space is also to be created by reusing listed buildings in Oldham's cultural quarter. The development will be based within a redeveloped old post office and former Quaker meeting house at 84 Union Street and aspires to be a net zero carbon enterprise. Whatever that means. This is the bit I want to focus on. The council says it will expand the existing performing arts offer in terms of scope, scale and quality, and increased provision for participatory activities. This was never meant to be the replacement Colosseum. They are misleading you again, they are lying to you once again, and they are using you once again. This bid to the Towns Fund was not designed not submitted, not successful. It is nothing to do with the relocation of the Colosseum, but they are desperate, so they are attempting to rewrite history and claim this venue is the new Colosseum, or the replacement of the Colosseum. It is in no way the replacement of the Colosseum, and I'll tell you why it's not the replacement of the Colosseum. Separate to what the Colosseum Theatre have raised about the logistics of the venue not meeting the basic minimum standards of what a theatre should be, it is smaller. When all this time the council have been saying they need bigger, more space, this one is a lot smaller. And do you know what this is? Do you know what this is? This is the replacement for the Queen Elizabeth Hall. They're knocking down the Queen Elizabeth Hall along with the Civic Centre. Remember the old library? The old library is going to become the mayor's parlour, the council officers' buildings, the councillors' space. This venue next door is effectively the Queen Elizabeth Hall relocation. And now they're trying to desperately rehash it as the new Colosseum, and you lot are falling for it. Read their own bloody paperwork. Type in Towns Fund. Go and have a look at the bid. Go and look at the prospectus. It's all on there. It's all on there. This was never the theatre that will be replacing the Colosseum. It is an outright fabrication. Which is why they've got a cafe there. Which is why they've got 300 seats there. So you can turn up for your Duke of Edinburgh Awards and schools can use it for presentation nights. That's what this venue is. Maybe clear the seats and you can have dancing lessons. Ballroom dancing and stuff. That's what this venue is. That's what the old remember, it went back over a year ago in June 2021. At what point ever in June 2021 has it been touted as the replacement for the Colosseum? It hasn't, because it wasn't. It hasn't because it wasn't. And the twisting you, the manipulating you, and 5 years into this, people still aren't going and just typing things in the search bar of Google and doing their own research, because if you did your research, you'll find out what I said just now, what I've shared with you now. And I've waited until Sunday on purpose. Let's see if anyone else does this. Let's see if anyone else pulls this out. This is the Queen Elizabeth Hall Mark II. That's what this venue is. The council says it will expand the existing performing arts offer. Expand the existing performing arts offer. So that means expand on and above and beyond the existing Colosseum offer. You are being lied to, you are being misled. And that cabinet paper, as you've seen yourself, was headed up by Amanda Chadderton, leader of Oldham Council. The woman who claimed being groomed and gang raped, we can't say it destroyed children's lives. And Emma Barton, type in her name, type in Wigan and see for yourselves what her track record is. If you're finding value in these transmissions, please like, please share. I'm going to go and get myself a cup of tea and we're going to continue. We've got a lot more to get through this evening. Sorry, I'm just trying to set something else up on a computer screen next to me. You're being lied to. You're being misled. You're being played. And they've done it. You're a bunch of plebs, aren't you? That's what they think. You're a bunch of plebs. Don't know how to read. Even if you did, you wouldn't make sense of any of this stuff. They've been running rings round you for decades. Not anymore. Not anymore. Thank you for bearing with me. I am a one-man. Is sure the right word? I'm not sure. I am a one-man operation. You are being taken for fools. We're all being taken for fools. And the reason they are trying this in broad daylight, in plain sight, is because they've done it before, and they've done it before, and they've keep doing it to you. In a functioning democracy, the opposition parties, remember Sam al-Hamdani was sat on the front row in the Colosseum. Dave Arnott was in the crowd, bravely turned up, like I've said. Why aren't they reading the paperwork? Why aren't they following the paper trail? Or are they complicit in this? I don't believe they are complicit. I don't even think Sam Hamdan is complicit in this. Dave definitely isn't. Why aren't they following the paper trail? Guys, you can hire me. My rates are reasonable. Minimum wage. I don't know what to say. They played you. And Equity want you to go and rant and rave about their staff losing. And this new building was never meant to be the replacement Coliseum. Nowhere in the paperwork is it the replacement Coliseum. They've got the council offices next door. They've got the fancy thing. The old library they've stolen. That's what I claim it as, stolen. Into the mayor's chamber, mayor's parlour, whatever. They've stolen the old library from us. And now the local interest centre, the old historic space, that they're trying to mislead us. It's meant to be. Well, it was going to be nothing more than the rehashed Queen Elizabeth Hall. A smaller version of the Queen Elizabeth Hall. The kids can turn up for the DOV Awards. Because when you apply that filter to this, it's a perfectly functional building. On Union Street, you can park in Sainsbury's, walk up, turn up for school certificates, school awards, that sort of stuff. The council chambers are next door. There's a library next door. It makes sense. There's a cafe inside. Why would you have a cafe inside a theatre? I'm ambassador of the arts. Actually, I'm a fellow of the arts. I'm a Royal Society. Is it the RSA? I'm an RSA fellow. Have been for many years. I don't put the letters after my name or anything, but I fund it. I've been an RSA fellow for many years. I've commissioned many an arts project and been involved in many a successful bid. I'm a champion of the arts. What I object to, it's not object. What I find hard to believe is, I spent a couple of days in London visiting the theatres with my daughter. I think I remember sharing with you. We'd gone to see Matilda. I bought tickets in the summer. We saved up. We went down by the coach. All of that. We did all of that. We went to cafes. We went to venues around the theatres. If the council are building this, surely they would want people to eat around, outside and around, rather than inside the theatre. Have they not just got this food court that they're spending tens of millions in the Egyptian rooms on? They're trying to make something fit that was designed for something else and retrospectively apply it because of what's happened at the Colosseum, and they're taking you for mugs. Well, I'm not a mug. So if you are mugs, you'll go to the council meeting tomorrow and stop by the Colosseum and wave the Equity banners. And if you're not a mug and you still want to go, you'll go and ask the question, how is this the replacement for the Colosseum when this is the replacement for the Queen Elizabeth Hall? They are indeed conning us. They are indeed conning us. And as for all the independents, Karen, the ones I've spoken to, and I have taken up a leadership role. It's not something I've wanted to do, but something I've needed to do. I've spoken to as many of the independents as possible, and I'm trying to get them all on the same page. And this page is really simple. We take care of Labour. We kick them out in the May election so they have no overall control. We will save that building. We will save the 135-year building. We will conduct assessments and surveys 10 years. Remember, these surveys were done in 2012, not in 2022 or 2023. We will do a risk assessment. We'll do an options appraisal. We'll see how much it takes to restore that building. We are not going to surrender that building to the chicken shops or the coal dust overspill. The historical Colosseum building is not going to be surrendered so easily as the Carnegie Library in Chadderton was to one of McMahon's samosa nibbling pals. And the independents will galvanise around it because the public in this town want that theatre to be saved, and it shouldn't be the easy thing to do to get rid of it. It should be the last thing we do. We should exhaust every avenue available to us on how to save that historic building and make it fit for purpose so that it survives the next 100 years. Emma Barton, this isn't Wigan. And you're messing with the wrong town. Please like, please share. Thank you to the one person who's bought me a samosa. I'm sure that £2 will go down really well. No, I'm grateful. I'm not laughing at you. Thank you very, very much. If everyone who watches my work gave me £2, I'd do all right. I think that's exactly what it is, mate. I think that's exactly what it is. Let's move on. I started this evening making reference to Greater Manchester Police and Chief Superintendent Chris Bowen openly now campaigning on behalf of the Labour Party and Amanda Chadderton. And I used Operation Avro as an example of that. There is no reason whatsoever that Amanda Chadderton should be stood beneath the Civic Centre, lit up in blue next to the policeman. There's also no reason why that building should be lit up in blue, particularly given the cost of living crisis and how all of us are having to cut back on electricity. That is a public endorsement. The Chief Superintendent Chris Bowen knew exactly what he's doing, and he's reliant on saving Amanda Chadderton. Remember, there is a commitment from across all of the independents that once Labour are removed, we will call in the government. We will call in the government into Oldham and hold all of them accountable. He'll be running for his pension. Mark my words, he'll be running for his pension should that happen. And this is why Greater Manchester Police are now openly campaigning in the lead up to an election to try and keep the Labour Party in power. Sorry, I've lost that. Let me find that again. Here we go. Yesterday we highlighted Operation Avro in Oldham. Look at that. The lighting up the Civic Centre. You're paying for this, by the way. You're paying for this. And here is Amanda Chadderton with the bent copper. Chief Superintendent Chris Bowen, forced to apologise for his police force's failings in protecting little white girls from Pakistani rape gangs and taking us for fools whilst he claims that the investigation, nearly 2 years now into the firebombing of Aruj Shah's car, is still live. Here's Amanda Chadderton. Here's Chief Superintendent Chris Bowen. Here's Operation Avro lighting up the Civic Centre behind that you are paying for. This is electioneering. This is outright electioneering involving Greater Manchester Police and Oldham Council because they fear if Operation Hexagon, once it is exposed, these people will end up in prison. Individuals from Greater Manchester Police and Oldham Council will end up in prison. If they don't end up in prison, they'll never work again. And this is how the day went. According to Greater Manchester Police, Operation Avro returned to the streets of Oldham with a focus on youth engagement. What on earth is a focus on youth engagement? You're meant to be going out there and getting some of the most dangerous criminals. That's what Operation Avro was designed for. They made 49 arrests. A couple of fancy photographs, but here is the bit I want to show you. They are now using it as a performance management, a performance indicator. They are using as a performance indicator the number of posts on social media channels they've made and their overall social media reach. They are deciding how successful a crime-fighting campaign is by first and foremost, not how many arrests. No, first and foremost, how many people on Twitter or Facebook have seen their hashtags. That's what they've decided what their success indicator is. How many people have seen their hashtags and what their social media reach is. 140 of what? Traffic offences. You're not going after the chicken shop money launderers, are you? Or the heroin dealers or the gangsters? Or whoever blew up Arooj Shah's car. 152 speed offences. It's ended up as the lowest common denominator policing, a PR exercise of where success is measured by the number of hashtags and what Facebook and Twitter said as the social media reach. Remember, Greater Manchester Police, as well as being a proven Pakistani rape gang organisation, having failed for generations, decades, children in our town and other towns across Greater Manchester, were until recently in accelerated special measures. They are so proficient at chasing criminals that even with the CCTV footage of the firebombing of one of the most senior politicians in this town, Arooj Shah, while she was leader of the council in the firebombing of her car, they have yet to charge a single individual. Perhaps it is that the video evidence that was leaked to me and then shared across the country is what prevented them from making any arrests, because the arrest they had in mind was to shut me down and shut down anyone else they could through their unlawful Operation Hexagon. Greater Manchester Police. Anytime, boys. Next time you want to send some kids around to arrest me, give me a call beforehand. I'll put the kettle on. I'll make them some Vimto. Muppets. For those of you who asked about my arrest, I think I shared with you at the time, I'm on bail. I'm on bail till the middle of May, I think, where it's ongoing investigation. So if something happens from it, something will happen from it. I doubt anything will happen from it. And if it does happen from it, well, then we'll cross that bridge when I get there. I've got kind of used to being on police bail. I've been on police bail now, ongoing continuously for nearly 2 years. GMP are up for election because GMP are controlled by Greater Manchester Mayor Andy Burnham, and it's wrong, isn't it, mate? What really should happen is the police should be independent of the politicians. That's really what should happen. The police should be independent of the politicians, and they should have no reservations whatsoever in going and arresting politicians, or at the very least interviewing them under caution. If you saw that video footage of Arooj Shah's car and how it appears to be unlocked, and clearly the window was smashed after the door was opened. The car was not parked outside our house, but parked conveniently on a nearby street. The car that pulled up knew exactly what it was doing, opened the door immediately. If you had seen that footage, and the police force genuinely fulfilled their roles without fear or favour, who is the first person that you would be interviewing? Remember, at the time, James Ignatius O'Rourke McMahon went running to the Daily Mail and attempted to claim I was responsible because of a blog I'd written, an article I'd written, which I stand by to this day, of the rise of Islamification in this country and the Labour Party appeasement of that. The problem with James Ignatius O'Rourke McMahon's attempts to frame me, because framing is exactly what it was, is that I published the article the day after, the following day of the firebombing. And I doubt the three imbeciles who were involved in that, which looked like something out of a comedy sketch, are capable of reading anything I write and picking up on the nuances within it. Arooj Shah is standing for re-election in St Mary's in May. Should she succeed, and it looks like she will succeed because the Pakistanis have done what the Pakistanis do, there is every chance that this town, come May, will be governed from Glodwick. Governed from Glodwick. There's a bizarre story doing the rounds. I've followed it, and I'm going to use the Greater Manchester Police's own press release to run through it. There's a man who's been charged in connection with 3 sexual assaults in Oldham. And this man's name is Eric Mawingi. And apparently he's of no fixed abode. He was remanded in custody until his next court appearance at Tameside Magistrates Court. And Superintendent Phil Hutchinson of Greater Manchester Police said these incidents will have understandably caused concern in the wider community, blah, blah, blah. But what I want to get to is this bit. I am, however, aware of speculation on social media which is circulating incorrect information about this case. In particular, speculation that the person responsible resides in Oldham. Inquiries suggest this is incorrect. The word suggest I find interesting. Why does inquiries suggest this is incorrect? Superintendent Hutchinson. Inquiry should either confirm this is incorrect. Simple, isn't it? If you don't want people to speculate that this guy isn't from Oldham, or isn't from Oldham, and I don't know what the issue is here, but if he isn't from Oldham, then why can't you just confirm he's not from Oldham? Why are you saying your inquiries suggest that he's not from Oldham? And why is it an issue if people are speculating he is from Oldham, seeing as though the attacks were committed in Oldham? And if he's not from Oldham, where is he from? So what is it you don't want people to do? However, he is appealing to the community to please refrain from speculation online which could potentially jeopardize our investigation. How would it jeopardize your investigation speculating where this man is from? I'm not a policeman, but please tell me. Tell me. The police officers who listen in, or their wives, or their husbands, or their partners, or whatever, the he, she, they, tell me. What is Superintendent Philip Hutchinson from Greater Manchester Police in Oldham really up to? Because the more he speaks, or the more I read about this, the more I started to look into it, thinking, what on earth is he on about? Don't speculate this guy is not from Oldham. Don't speculate he's from Oldham, even though the 3 victims are from Oldham, because you've confirmed they are from Oldham in your own headline. 3 sexual assaults in Oldham. Has he targeted Oldham specifically? Has he come here because he's read about the grooming gangs and how the police look the other way? So it's easy game in Oldham? What? I don't know. Who is Eric Mwingi? Where does he live? Why is it important not to speculate where he's from? How will it jeopardize an investigation? I'm just having a biscuit. I don't think Phil Hutchinson is going to enjoy what just went through my mind at the time, whilst nibbling on my chocolate chip biscuit. Maybe they don't want us to speculate because there's a gang operating, and there's a dozen in Eric Mwingi's gang, and if you speculate which town or where it's from, he'll interfere in a police operation, and there's actually a dozen of them out there. Well, I'm going through the scenarios that are coming up in my head. Why don't you want us to speculate where he's from? I think his surname gives away that he's not ethnically white from Oldham. I think that's clear. Don't you? And indeed, maybe that's what they're trying to do. Lure us into a trap. And then say, there you go, racist, racist, racist. So I typed his name in Google, like you do. You type his name in Google. Because I actually got fascinated by just reading this police press release. Because honestly, I had no idea about any of this until I read this police press release. I've been busy all week doing face-to-face interactions with a whole host of independents, which I'll get to later. And I saw this. I'm thinking, what on earth? This doesn't read right. There's something else going on here. So I typed his name in Google. And this comes up on the Manchester Evening News. Man charged after 3 women in one day report sex attacks in Oldham. So 3 women in one day were sexually attacked by, and he's been charged. So we don't, there's still a trial and all the rest of it. But they've charged Eric Mwingi, who appeared in Tameside Magistrate Court. When I appeared in Tameside Magistrate Court, the Manchester Evening News and the Oldham Times couldn't wait to put my photograph up. Couldn't wait to put my photograph up. Where's this lad's photograph? It's not there. So I had a look on the Oldham Times. Where's his photograph? It's a photograph of a policeman. Some generic photograph, but his photograph's not there. You can see. So I typed his name in Google and clicked on the images 3 days ago. I'm presuming that's the guy with the beard. This is on Google, by the way. This isn't me. Is that where the attack was, at Freehold Metro? Okay, thanks, Denise. So, genuinely, I don't know anything about this case. Well, I found it just bizarre that they're asking us not to speculate who he is, where he's from, where he lives. And clearly, the Manchester Evening News have removed the photograph because the photograph's still there. But when you click on their story, the photograph isn't on their story. They've updated it with the generic picture of Tameside Magistrate and County Court. And I have no idea what's going on beyond reading what the superintendent had to say and finding it very uncomfortable. I'd want to know. As a father of a daughter, my goddaughters are an age where they hang about Freehold, tram stations. I'd want reassurance from Greater Manchester Police that this man was working on his own. And he isn't part of a gang. I'd want that reassurance. And instead, whatever they're doing, whyever they're doing it, only makes me more anxious. And when I typed in, this is what I also came across. It's interesting. In this racial weaponizing of race, it's interesting. Oldham man jailed for 10 years for child sex offences. Here he is. Kieran Dengan. And this goes back, this is a slightly old story. Last year, February last year. But you can see his photograph. Put in prison for 10 years. But convicted. My point is he was convicted. Here is another man, Rahman Akhtar, 33, from Oldham. He approached a lone woman and shouted, "I want a F, asterisk, asterisk K, give it to me," before attacking her. So I presume attacking her was sexually attacking her, but... A man who, with an obsession for female body parts, approached a lone woman on the street and shouted, "I want her," before assaulting her. Rahman Akhtar, 33, targeted a woman as she walked to a local shop on Lees Road in Oldham at around 10:30 p.m. in the evening. The victim had never met him before when he crossed the road and started harassing her. Minstrel Street Crown Court, so this man was convicted in the Crown Court, heard Akhtar, who was believed to be under the influence of drugs or alcohol, cross the road so as to be on the same side as the woman before he started shouting at her. And then it describes what happened. Yeah. Where's his photograph? Where's Rahman Akhtar's photograph? Why is Rahman Akhtar's photograph not in the Manchester Evening News? Why is the headline "Man approached lone woman" and the subtext is Rahman Akhtar? First question I thought, Louise, who is the man related to in Oldham and how many postal votes are in his family? That's the first place I took it to. Who is Rahman Akhtar related to and how many postal votes are in his family? And I think it's wrong for you to say diversity, Mr. Samosa Nibbler. Because there's no one I know who looks like me that would approach or has ever approached a woman and shouted, "I want a F-U-C-K, give it to me," and then attacked her. And we don't know from this whether the woman was white, black, or in between or anything else. Those are lazy conclusions. And the way these stories are written manipulate you into holding those views and opinions. And if you've not learnt that by now, you never will. You're better than that. This isn't about diversity. This is about who's in charge of this newspaper. It's not people who look like me. What about The police officer. Superintendent Phil Hutchinson. Doesn't sound like an Abdul Mohammed sort of name to you or me, does it? For decades now, the working classes in towns like ours have been played to make lazy and easy racism conclusions. And that is one of the reasons, the main reasons, why they find these transmissions dangerous. Because I educate you beyond the place they want you to go to a place that, well, it takes us into an entirely different arena, doesn't it? Someone asked, yes, Dr. Chauhan was sat behind Keir Starmer today, this week, when he was in Manchester. Prime spot behind Keir Starmer. Dr. Chauhan is suing me, and I will do an extensive piece on that, all of the reasons as to why he's suing me and how it'll end up in court. I'll share all of that, and I have much more on Dr. Chauhan. Much more. What he wants the courts to do, apart from £50,000 and fees, his solicitor's fees, so probably about £150,000. What he wants off me more than his £150,000 or more is to shut me up. And it's clear that he needs to shut me up. He needs to shut me up. And shutting me up means stopping bringing to public attention legitimate queries regarding his relationships with Bardock, regarding his relationship with the council, and asking questions. Well, this is a democracy. This is not Mirpur. And whilst I may not have the money Dr. Chauhan does, I am not afraid of him. I'm not afraid of his attack dog, Wilby, because I heard Wilby has been writing information about my defence, including how many pages it was. Well, he's not got that from me. It can only have come from Dr. Chauhan's lawyers, directly or indirectly, because it's not come from the courts. I will do another piece on that another time. Okay, I promised to bring you up to date with the elections. Just give me a moment whilst I drink some Vimto, take a moment to have a breath, listen to your song. And I'll get back to you. Okay, there are 208 of you watching this transmission. Thank you very much. I'm still overwhelmed that so many of you give up your Sunday evenings to hear me look into a screen in front of me and go through things that I've read. Thank you to the 3 people who've bought me coffees for this evening, and I'm always embarrassed actually when the people who are buying me coffees are the people who've actually taken out subscriptions. So there's an overlap there. I'm grateful because it helps me keep my lights on, but I'm always disappointed that we have 208 people who are taking value in this work. All the political parties take value in this work, and yet, well, you know. I spent this week meeting with a number of independent parties. I met with the Coldest Independents. I met with the newly formed Saddleworth Independent Party. And I also met with the newly formed Royton Independent Party. All 3 of them are going through the registration process with the Electoral Commission as we speak. Hopefully they'll get registered in time. If they don't, they'll stand there as independent, and I'm sure that process will catch up with them over a period of time. So the Royton Independents, the Coldest Independents, the Royton Independents, the Coldest Independents, the Saddleworth Independents. So those 3 parties I met with. I also went to an event for the Shaw and Crompton Independents, which is Mark Hintz's group. A lovely event, lovely evening. So many genuinely decent people turned up, and Mark Hintz will get over the line. I'm very confident Mark Hintz will take out him and Lisa. The pair of them, they'll get over the line. I'm genuinely confident they will take out the Liberal Democrats, at least 1 or 2 of the Liberal Democrats in Shaw and Crompton. So 4 independent parties I met with. We were all on page, and I also spoke with the Failsworth Independents. Brian Hobin's lost his father. So my condolences, I spoke to him and offered my condolences to Brian with the loss of his father. It's I don't care what your age is. I don't think it's ever easy losing someone like that in your life. So I phoned him up and offered my condolences, and also we did end up talking work, and we've arranged a meeting, a summit of the independents, as I made reference to. I also speak with Mark Wilkinson regularly. I've said to everyone, the time to hide is over. Sorry, that's Azad phoning me, Montaz phoning me. He phones me all the time on the Bangladeshis. You got to understand, the idea of a diary and timetable is completely alien to my people. Honestly, how I conduct my life in a very, well, you can imagine, a very structured format, and to those who I grew up with, yeah, never mind. So I met with all of these parties. I'm still trying to meet with the Oldham Heart, Paul Taylor. I've worked out what he's doing, and I think we can find a way forward. So there's Paul Taylor, and I had a 3-hour meeting with Paul Eric on Wednesday. To give him his due, as soon as I contacted Paul Eric, he got back in touch with me, and I met him the following day. So that's what I've been trying to do, is coordinate the various independents. So there's a common ground. We stand on common ground in the lead up to May's election. Having conversations with all of you who sponsor me, all of you who support me, all of you who tune into these transmissions, it's what you want. It's what the people of our town want, a coalition of independents that stand together. Unfortunately, it's not all sorted, Julie. And I'll get to that. When we started this journey, the Failsworth Independents it was just Brian. It wasn't even the Failsworth Independents. It was just Brian Hobin as a independent, and Aftab as an A independent. Sorry, that's the other ones I've met with, the St. Mary's Independents. So, Royton Independents, Saddleworth Independents, Coldest Independents, St. Mary's Independents, Mark Hintz's Shaw and Crompton independents and the Failsworth independents, the 6 independents, we've managed to get on side. And we've managed to get them on side because of the road that the Failsworth independents have travelled down. And it was a road that I started on because I wanted a party, and I supported Proud of Oldham and Saddleworth, you'll all remember. I wanted a party across the borough. But the people in these localities don't vote enough for a party across the borough. And the Failsworth independent model has been the model that's been successful. It's the one the Coldest independents followed, and it's the one that the St Mary's AFTAB followed. Neighbourhood level political parties, small independent political parties at a neighbourhood level that first and foremost serve the people of a locality. And that's why the Royton independents have developed the way they have. It's why the Saddleworth independents have developed the way they have, and it's why Mark Hinds has separated from Proud of Oldham and Saddleworth and focused exclusively on Sean Crompton. Everyone's on board, on the same page, give or take. Apart from Oldham Hart, and that's not his fault, it's my fault, because I've yet to speak to him and I'll get there. And once I've spoken to him, I'm sure I'll find some common ground. Paul Taylor's a very bright man. Whatever I or anyone thinks of him, he's a very bright man. I've met him a few times and he's always, in many ways, he's like Paul Eric. You know, they'll sit to you, they'll talk to you. The first base is talking to someone, isn't it? That's first base. And of course, I gain nothing here. Let's be very clear. I personally gain nothing here. I'm doing this because you want me to do this, and I'm doing this because I know it's the right thing to do. And I'm also doing this because no one else has done this. And no one else will do this, which is why I've stepped forward to do this. Anyway, I meet with Paul Eric. We have a 3-hour meeting. Very positive, very constructive. He's not been well as well. And you could see he's not been well. And his wife, he's told me his wife wants him to have nothing to do with politics. He'd thought he'd had a heart attack and stuff, but you know, he's genuinely been unwell. And what I was hoping I could do with the Proud of Oldham and Saddleworth have morphed or reinvented. I don't know what the right word is, but they're now the Oldham Metropolitan Independents. And their best candidate is Paul Shilton. And to all of you who live in Saddleworth West and Lees, I'll say now what I've said from the outset. If I lived in Saddleworth West and Lees, I would vote for Paul Shilton, and I urge every one of you to vote for Paul Shilton. What we got to in the end was I was speaking to the wrong person. Paul's operationally, he told me, and I have no reason to doubt him. He's not in charge of the party. He doesn't have that role anymore. And the people in charge of Oldham Borough Independence, or OB1, Oldham Borough Independence, don't like me, don't want to talk to me. And if I wasn't there, they'd talk to all the others. I'm afraid you don't get what you want in life sometimes. And if I wasn't there, there wouldn't be any of the others. And if I wasn't there, many of the others wouldn't talk to you because I'd been excluded. And whether you like it or not, I am fundamental to what is taking place in this town in terms of a resistance to the Labour Party. And wanting to sideline me from it, best of luck. And that's not Paul's, but, it was just conveying. What I was disappointed by is after I left, I saw Mohib phone me. My friend Mohib. Yeah, Mohib phone me. And Azad phone me. The Oldham Borough Independents had apparently put up a Facebook post Wednesday night. Hours after I had met with Paul. where they went through a number of candidates they had. So they had candidates in Hollingwood, they had candidates in Saddleworth West and Leeds, candidates in Saddleworth North, and candidates in Saddleworth South. My own thoughts have always been, and I am from this town, and I've been in Saddleworth as well as I've been in, Coldest or St Mary's. My own thoughts are that the Saddleworth Independent Party, because of what the folk in Saddleworth are like, and it's not a criticism, they're fiercely independent of Oldham and want to be fiercely, independent of Oldham. I'm thinking that the banner, the Saddleworth Independent Party, will have more traction with the people of Saddleworth than the Oldham Borough Independents in Saddleworth. My own thoughts are, and I'm laughing as I'm saying this, so it's a joke before some police officer wants to come and arrest me. Yeah, I'll have just as much luck getting people to vote under the banner of the Oldham Muslim Alliance up in Saddleworth as I will the Oldham Borough Independents up in Saddleworth. That's just the lay of the land, isn't it? But I couldn't communicate that or get that message across. So they're putting up 9 candidates. And I'm sure the Saddleworth Independent Party will now put up their candidates. And it's never for me to say who should and shouldn't stand. Remember, when Warren Bates stood and we knew he was going to split the vote, I still maintained Warren had a right to stand. Everyone has a right to stand. I don't like it. But that doesn't mean they don't have a right to stand. I'm a Democrat. So that's what they're doing. They're going to stand in Hollingwood. They're going to stand in the 3 Saddleworth wards. And this is the bit that Mohib phoned me for, and then Montaz phoned me for, and I've had a very uncomfortable conversation, or I've got to have another uncomfortable conversation with his brother Shomudge. My friend, Shomudge. And the Oldham Borough Independents post is still up there. Let me see if I can find it. Just give me a second so we're on the same page. So the first thing I'd say about this, and it's a criticism I have for the I Love Oldham page, is I don't like posts or pages like this where people hide behind anonymity. I think whoever's saying that should write their name at the bottom of it. After being approached by several individuals asking if we are working with other independent groups, I can confirm that Failsworth Independents are the only group we have been engaging with and have not been approached by any others. Not in capital letters, not been approached by any others. When Oldham Borough Independents came into existence to support independents, we announced that we would be happy to discuss supporting any independents wishing to stand. Currently, we are supporting independents for the May elections in, you can see Saddleworth North, Saddleworth West and Leeds, Hollingwood, Medlock Vale, 3 possible candidates. So they've not got Saddleworth South there. Medlock Vale, 3 possible candidates. And potential candidates for Coldest. We have had several meetings with the members of their wards and will be announcing candidates very soon. Blah, blah, blah. Okay. A couple of points I want to pick up on that, and I'm not criticising. Before someone, if you don't like me already, what worse is it going to be? I've been honest at this from the outset, and I think the reason I've got this far is because I'm honest. The first thing I'd say is the Oldham Borough Independents came out of Proud of Oldham and Saddleworth. I think that's clear. When Proud of Oldham and Saddleworth first stood, they put up 2 parliamentary candidates. Paul Erup in Oldham East and Saddleworth, and Debbie Barrett Cole in Oldham West and Royton. I went and spoke to my friend Shomudge, whose brother Azad was standing as a candidate. Yeah, Montaz. And Shomudge was her agent. He got a lot of stick in the mosque at the time. And he got a lot of stick following that because of the Tommy Robinson chanting that Debbie got herself involved in. But put that to one side. The coldest independents have supported. Proud of Oldham and Saddle, have supported Paul Eric, have supported Debbie Barrett Collin, have supported all of them. Mohib got himself in trouble, went through some disciplinary hearings because he went to a meeting and offered some friendly words of advice. The first thing I want to say is, how dare the Oldham Borough Independents start to express a view and opinion that they've got candidates in Coldus, or they want candidates in Coldus. What do you think will happen? We have worked tirelessly, and we're still working tirelessly. You saw my phone go off 10 minutes ago. That was Montaz. I don't do meetings at 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock, 12 o'clock. I can't function that way because my day starts at 5. Yet after I put this down, turn this machinery off, I will go and see him because I'm trying to get the Coldus Independents over the line. And I'm trying, along with many others, to grow the Coldus Independents so it becomes a cross-community party, including white people, black people, and so on. And the reason Montaz got over the line was because of the likes of Tony, the likes of Gary. Amanda's here, her daughter. We went and knocked on doors in St. Mary's Estate, which forms parts of Coldust. And white people turned out and voted for the Coldust Independents. That's how we got the Coldust Independents over the line. And that's how we had defeated a sitting Labour councillor. What do you think will happen if the Oldham Borough Independents put up a candidate? And they know what they're doing. This isn't from a place of ignorance. What do you think would happen if the Oldham Borough Independents put up a candidate in Coldust? Do you think they'd win? Do you think they'd get 2,000 votes? Because that's what the winning line is, 2,000 votes in the Asian wards. Do you think they'd get 2,000 votes? All they'd do is split the vote and Labour would come through the middle. And yes, they have every right to stand. But they know what they're doing. The second point I want to bring up on this, I'll bring it back up. Give me 1 second. Is the confirmed that Failsworth Independents are the only group we have been engaging with. There's a difference between engaging with and working with. The Failsworth Independents were quick to contact me after seeing the Coldest thing to make clear that no. Because the Failsworth Independents have led this, because all the other parties are copying the Failsworth Independents. They're admiring, they're taking inspiration from the Failsworth Independents. The constitutions are based on the same. The membership is based on the same. They look to Brian, they look to Mark for leadership. And the model is a locality-based party. The Oldham Borough Independent model isn't a locality-based party. And thanks, David. I've not even spoken with David. So there you go. As far as I'm aware, they haven't even been in contact with FIP. So that's a bit naughty, I think. It's not fair on FIP having to make phone calls or people being upset with them. But the bit I find, the mindset bit for me, And it comes through when you read this, and you've got to focus on this bit for me, please. I can confirm, so it's an I, so it's an individual who's writing this. I can confirm that Failsworth Independents are the only group we have been engaging with and have, capital letters, not been approached by any others. I'm not sure how to take that other than arrogance. We have not been approached by others. Have you approached them? Am I being unfair? Have you approached them? Have you approached the Coldest Independents? Have you approached the Royton Independents? Have you approached the Shaw and Crompton Independents, the Saddleworth Independents, the St Mary's Independents? When Oldham Borough Independent came into existence to support independents, we announced that we would be happy to discuss supporting any independents wishing to stand. So you want them to come to you. When they put up a candidate in Hollingwood, the poor young woman got 150 votes, 160 votes, 170 votes. On Thursday this week, I will be running a free workshop on how to actually put your publicity together. Perhaps the Hollingwood candidates or the Medlock Vale candidates or any of the other candidates, because at the end of the day, these are my people. These are our people. And it hurts me when I see them fail. Forget whatever it is they do to me or whether they like me or not. It hurts me when I see them come up short because they're making mistakes through ignorance and arrogance. So on Thursday morning, I'm going to try for 10 o'clock in the morning. I'm going to run a free workshop on how to win an election campaign and the literature that needs to be put out and when it needs to be put out. I'm not going to play this game, and I'm not going to play these games. We'll take to the battlefield, because this is what it is. As many of the independents who want to work together and believe that together we are stronger, who will sign a compact and accord of not to stand in each other's wards, to support each other, to work together should they be elected. Is that not what we want? Is that not what we need? And maybe I've got it wrong. And maybe the Oldham Borough Independents with the 3, 6, 9, 12, 15 candidates, potentially 15 candidates, will wipe the floor. Paul Taylor, I'll be trying to contact him this week to see whether we can do something with the Oldham Heart Party, because whether we like it or not, again, they are a feature of this town. And I think Paul Taylor's mind would add value to everything that the other independents are trying to strive for. I also still maintain that Paul Eric's networks in Saddleworth and across, and his businessman would also add value. But I'm disappointed in the Oldham Borough Independents post. Thank you very, very much. My name is Raja Mia. These are Recusant 9 transmissions. I'm hoping I can get us to the elections in May and work with as many of the independents as possible to promote and share a united front. I will be standing as an independent candidate in the 2024 general elections on an anti-cartel, paedophile, anti-Pakistani rape gang, anti-corruption platform. I'll be standing against James Ignatius O'Rourke McMahon, who enjoys the best part of 25,000 votes, and I am adamant that we will take him all the way. Because I genuinely believe that the people of my town have had enough of what is taking place. And after 5 years of me doing what I'm doing, I think it's very, very clear who I am and the difference I make. A very good evening.
Do not fear them. Do not fear any of them.